What happens when you mix Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Sentai?
I don't know. Watch the dang video and find out.
Man, you're no fun.
Welcome, one and all, to Hybrid Havoc, the show where we stick things to other things. I'm your host with the most, Xenexus.
And I'm the most. Inky, don't forget, we also stick things in other things.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, nothing.
Anyways, you've seen all kinds of fusion videos on YouTube. You know, you've seen Pokemon, Ben 10, Pokemon. But today, we've got something special and new for you. We're mixing Sank the Dank with the Danger Rangers. We're calling it.
Go ahead.
Go on.
Also
Leave this
known
in.
as.
Go on.
Also known as Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Sentai.
Yep. Forget my line. We call it Super Sonic Sentai for this batch of characters. And today, we're gonna get started with the classics. Alright, let's speed up. When fusing two different types of characters together, or a theme and a character together, it's always good to see what makes the character. Sonic's fast, so of course, a tracksuit, sporty shoes, some knee pads might help out, keeping him looking, keeping this character humanoid, while also getting all the features of Blasted Hedgehog into one design. It was surprisingly very easy to keep these characters looking like themselves, but having themselves be based on suits, if that makes sense. Spiky quills on the helmet, the ear vents, the shoes. Everything seems to be in order here. I was even able to add a pattern for where his, skin parts usually are, for his arms and his, belly. You might be able to see in the footage, originally, we had the idea of, putting the little Sonic Hero symbol on their, foreheads, as a, the sort of Power Ranger symbol for the team that we were having this time around, but we decided to scrap it. A simpler look seems like it paid off. Power Rangers are always doing wacky poses, so of course, I had to give him the classic, the one that everyone knows and loves. So, of course, and you'll see this later with the next two characters, but normally, Power Rangers have weapons. Sonic here clearly doesn't. Why is that? Well, seeing how he's so fast and all that, everyone's fast in these games. Let's just say we'll get to it, but I just think it would be interesting to have a hand-to-hand fighter for a Power Ranger, personally. So, we've been talking about Sonic a bit too much, I think. Let's go to the parts of Power Rangers that we took for these designs. Obviously, the big inspiration was the Jungle Fury line because, well, yeah, all the suits go hand in hand with kind of with the Mighty Morphin too, with like the white gloves on the white socks and stuff to break up the color scheme. None of them really had knee pads and stuff, but I feel like the knee pads kind of work. They also, from these angles, kind of look like springs, so that's fun. Now, in most Ranger series, of course, the Red Ranger is almost always the de facto leader, but I think in ours it makes sense to not, of course. We don't want to just make Sonic red, but Power Rangers also breaks the mold sometimes. I believe not only is she the first female Ranger in the series to be the leader, but she's also not a Red Ranger in, I believe it is the Pink Ranger in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy? Inky might have to fact check me on this later, but I've also I've done a lot of research into this stuff because, well, I don't know anything about anything. So I looked up the colors of the Power Rangers and like what they mean, and honestly, blue's kind of works. In this fine video by King Zoru, I found out that the Blue Ranger is often attributed with, kind of like freedom and, planning ahead, and who does that better than our boy right here? So, I think him being a leader doesn't actually hinder anything too bad. I don't know if that's the right wording. Leave this in. So, I don't know if it's the American version, Power Rangers, or the Super Sentai version over in Japan, but in certain things, the Blue Ranger from Dino Thunder gets on all fours and runs like a Triceratops. Do we think Sonic would in this thing would be do you think these characters would all spin dash?
I think they could. It would just look weird. I think
I love
would,
to. I think they would just do like a normal rolling on their head type thing, like rolling in a ball type thing for recordings, and then they'd just speed it up like 60 fucking frames or whatever.
I actually
times 60% speed.
Yeah. I do think that they would maybe do like a front flip that was set up to like 600% speed, and then they would have a physical object that's sort of representative of their spin dash form.
Yeah. Oh, what if it's like a weird weapon type thing, like how how Power Rangers have that big fat cannon that the team uses to take down an enemy sometimes? Or they just put them in a tire?
Have you seen the behind the scenes for the Sonic movies?
No.
They have physical 3D mock-ups of all the Sonic characters.
Oh yeah, I have seen
spin
that.
dash form. And so I think that it would be something like that in like an actual version of this hypothetical show of Supersonic Sentai.
Cool.
It would have like a physical spin dash form. I think it would look a little more plastic-like and not like plastic metallic and not like the actual Sonic movie. Just to keep in mind with the Supersonic Sentai, or to keep in line with the Sentai stuff, but you get what I mean. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm imagining.
I think that could be cool.
That would be sick.
I'm imagining their morphing moment is like them doing a big front flip for the spin dash and then landing it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Then maybe doing some sort of like run into the suit.
Yeah,
that could be cool. That could be cool. But anyways, now that we are most likely at the end of this speed draw, might I introduce you to the Sonic Ranger. Tails. Tails. You were the worst of this. You were so hard to figure out.
That's crazy.
The footage you're seeing right now is not the finished product at all. Spoilers. But goddamn. So, as you can see in the recording somewhere, maybe later, obviously, I wanted to give Tails the tech guy trope, smart guy, because that's what he is. So, I decided to give him the Doc Ock treatment. Give him some fucking tails. As you'll see in the finished design, we wanted to keep a similar kind of color blocking style, making sure that he was, looked right. Fun fact. Did you know that the yellow Power Ranger has never been consistent with gender? Majority of blue characters are always male, with some female Power Rangers being blue. There's a couple red female Power Rangers, pink, at least over in the West they are. But consistently, the Yellow Ranger is almost always inconsistent with that. Nothing really about the design, I just find that interesting. Our boy does love statistics after all. So, for the weapon for Tails, kinda tricky since I didn't go with the tails after all. So instead, I had a better idea. The Tornado Ring, symbolizing, the tornado. the cyclical, classical ship that he... Ship? That's a dang plane. The plane that he always drives. I find it, I think I did a good job with this weapon. I think it works for his character as well as, you know, having that part of the design in there. Just works a bit, in my opinion. I feel like I haven't talked much about the helmets. I tried to incorporate most of the ring imagery on the helmets and the belts, the characters. The helmets were kind of a hard part. Obviously these would be rigid structures, so, you know, the ears have to be very pronounced. We don't want to show their actual face, so of course we've got that classic Sonic character muzzle in silver, just like most of the Power Rangers with their nasty ass, unpolished ass, fucking wacky ass silver lips. The visors were another thing. You'll probably remember in the previous speed draw, Sonic's face looked quite different, and with Tails, probably. Our fine friend Inky here had a... well, you'll see their designs later in another video someday. But their designs changed up the visors and made them look more interesting while keeping it still making sense. So I decided to make the face shape go down into the muzzle as a way to kind of fuse the eyes and the nose aspect of the characters. And lastly, yes, Tails still has his tails in the final design that you're about to see right over here. So let me introduce you to a Sky Ranger. Here he comes, rougher than the rest of them, rough like leather. You can call him Knuckles, unlike Sonic. Bro, this shit sucks. Leave that in. That was a bit that I wanted to keep, so keep that in. So, most often than not, Power Rangers don't really have too much in terms of differentiating body types, but I think it works for Knuckles personally. Of course, we did our classic color blocking with the knee pads and shoulder pads. I thought it worked for the design personally. And I also gave him some wrist guards under his gauntlet, under his gloves rather, to match with his shoes. He doesn't have socks. He's never had socks in his design. Do we think his shoes are just a part of the costume? Like this is all a onesie? Including the shoes?
I don't know.
Damn. Alright. So, I know we said earlier that the helmets would probably be a rigid structure. We can't really do that with Knuckles, so I imagine that instead of just stabbing him in the fucking shoulder, his helmet would probably have some sort of like melding rubber in between the plastic. So, hence why. Big old dreads. I also decided to make his visor more sharp, to show how, you know, the character can be quite aggressive sometimes. I also gave him his classic little fangs on his visor because, yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. I also put his gloves on his thighs because, well, you'll see that later in the design, but, you know, he likes to flex his muscles. For the weapon, I decided to give him his digging claws, we'll call them. They might have a different name in Sonic Adventure 2, but his digging claws, because, well, what else are we gonna give him? He's already got his knuckles. We're gonna give him a big old bow staff? Maybe the sword from Sonic the Black Knight would have been cool, but what is he gonna do? Just stab one of the enemies? Man, bro got a fat cock. What the hell? Why'd I draw him like that?
What are you talking about?
Originally, me and Inky went back and forth screaming at each other happily because we were trying to think whether we should have him be like that one Cowboy Ranger from Super Sentai over Japan. If we should give him his hat. We did not give him his hat, but we are rectifying that in the video right now. Here's his hat. Here's his hat. Here's his hat.
What are you doing?
I don't know, I was waiting for you or something.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
I thought you were gonna say something about the Cowboy Ranger.
No.
Damn. Fun fact, most Red Rangers are dumb as bricks. This works for Knuckles, who has been tricked by Eggman many times, and will continue to be tricked every day in the future. He is the fool of April.
O'Neil?
Anyways, I believe we're done here. So may I introduce you to the Brute Ranger. Real quick, want to take some time out of the video not to have a sponsor, but instead to tell you about the Morphers. We decided to go with what we are calling the Gaia Morphers, basing them off of the ring you get at the end of the bracelet that Sonic gets at the end of Sonic Unleashed. By now, the design should be on screen. Tell us what you think. You have done different? Because the obvious answer would have been to, you know, do the emeralds, but we might have something in store for that. You'll have to see later.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Back to the video. Next time on Sonic X.
Alright, gang, it's time for Eggman. Now, what do we know about Eggman? He looks like an egg, and he looks like a man. So I made him shaped like an egg and a man. I'm just kidding.
Which one does he act like, though?
Which one does he act like? I think he acts most like a man. But like a really silly man. Like a really silly, stupid man.
I thought you were gonna call him Silly Stew for a second.
No.
That's offensive to Silly Stew.
Exactly. So, Eggman. I think, you know, I'm just gonna start this off and be like, I feel like he looks a little too much like Eggman, but also, I want him to be recognizable. So, when I was working on him, I was like, okay, what do I know about Super Sentai and just Power Rangers in general? The villains usually got these weird rubber suits on. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do that. How am I gonna work that in for Eggman, who is just a normal guy? Kind of. He just looks like an egg. And I was like, okay, what if I made his skin just really uncomfortable and look like it's made of rubber? And now, I know my style doesn't necessarily show that, but if you think about it, it's really uncomfortable to think about that his face and any part of his skin that would actually be showy would be made of rubber. And, you know, in the actual show, I feel like...
How did that happen?
I feel like this would be a very gross character to look at, because it is just rubber. And also imagining the unmoving smile with the unmoving eyes on top of the...
While he's talking.
While he's talking, I think it could be very uncomfortable, while also still being kind of funny, because he just looks ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Now, one thing about him that I was thinking about when I was making him, I was like, how am I gonna make his like weird shoe leggings combo work? And I think it turned out okay. I basically made boots into the legs, and I sort of did that with his shoulder pads too, because I really like that look of where you can see other suit aspects that are like hidden under rubber or like another source of fabric. I also wanted to give him a more exaggerated clothing instead of like exaggerated body. Now you can still tell that he's a large dude, but he's not like Eggman large. Imagining a person in this costume, I think would be very off-putting because he has the weird large cuffs and just the giant flat mustache, which some inspiration behind that was the glasses from Gurren Lagann, I believe that's the show, the anime. I was like, how am I gonna make his mustache? I know, make it this giant flat piece of plastic on the costume that if a single wind gust pushed it just correctly, it would go flying off the costume. Which I think would be very funny. And also,
Do you think his mustache gets radio signals?
it does get radio signals, and in fact, I think it'd be even funnier if he could take off the mustache and use them as like blades or something.
The nose has to come off with it. The nose has to come off with it.
The nose comes off, and you can see the actor's nose underneath. That'd be so ridiculous.
That'd be crazy.
But yeah, I think he turned out okay. I thought the reason why I gave him a belt, I thought his pants kind of looked, the lower half of his body kind of looked unfinished without it. So I was like, okay, well, let's give him a belt. Now, what am I gonna base the belt off of? And you'll see in the next part of the drawing where I get to his action pose, I actually did base the belt off of his little floating vehicle chair thing from one of the Sonic games. I think that's
The egg
Sonic
pod, I
Generations.
believe.
And the egg pod, whatever you want to call it. There's a version of Eggman where the thing that he sits in, the egg pod, I guess we'll call it, as we're saying now, is it has a green light on it, and I was like, okay, well let's use that for his belt. In regards to like other inspirations for him, I don't know. I was really just thinking about when I would watch Power Rangers, just thinking about how the rubbery suits of the enemies always made me uncomfortable. So I'm just imagining a full rubber suit on a human person, and like the head of Dr. Eggman kind of just moving past where a normal human head would be, sort of like Smaug from Dark Souls, where his head is not actually where you think it is.
Oh yeah.
It's just this design makes me uncomfortable, even though I really enjoy drawing it.
This is a fucking decrepit creature that you have created, and I love every bit of it.
I also hate every bit of it. I hated every second drawing this disgusting man.
Of course.
Now moving on to his action pose, I want to talk about the egg pod a little bit. For this, I was trying to imagine how it would be represented in the show, if it was actually a Super Sentai type of show. And I was like, what if I just put a person in this chair? So I put someone in a costume that is reminiscent of an egg pod mixed with the egg pod that Eggman sits in. And I thought it'd be funny if maybe some promotional material, it shows him standing or sitting inside of this object. I don't think this would be actually, like, maybe you could have the person inside of this costume to the side, but never when he's actually inside of it, because that would just put too much strain on the actor inside of the egg pod. But I think for like pictures and stuff and promotional material, it would be a nice little thing to show and be like, it's kind of like a pseudo robot that is supposed to be representative of a floating chair, but it's not actually. I just think it's funny, and I also think it would be funny if if one of the Team Sonic members was like, that's just a guy in there, and Lord Egg is just like, no, it's not.
No.
No, that's not a person. That's my chair.
The funny thing about all this, I recently rewatched the Power Rangers RPM and Samurai crossover.
Yeah.
The jobbers of both. There's a scene where I could send this to you after. There's a scene where like the demon people, the Nylok, they're fucking? No, but they're going around and allying themselves with the villains of the other universe, which are robots. And at one point, the robots transform into motorcycles, except for one that just carries the Nylok on its back and fucking runs around with it as a vehicle. So,
Well, hey, I guess I wasn't too far off then.
not at all.
Turns out I did a thing that was already in the show. So,
She's so good at being thematic.
even though I feel like he looks a little too much like Eggman, I do think he turned out very good and will be a very fitting enemy or main enemy for the Team Sonic of Super Sonic Sentai. So please take a look at Lord Egg in all of his glory. Thank you all for watching today's video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this.
If you enjoyed and you'd like to support us in the future, please consider the Patreon that we have just recently made, and consider following the following tiers, if you'd be so kind. For just $1 a month, you can get your name in the credits alongside early access to art and video assets when we are finished with them, because, well, the video will still have to come out and be made, so you'll have time before anyone else sees it. And if you want to be that guy, for $10 a month, we will draw your character in a little employee business card of ours. We might also do a monthly stream with Inky. Wait, the what? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll do maybe me playing some games, watching a movie, whatever you think. Make suggestions in the comments below, or wherever you want to. Speaking of wherever you want to, be sure to follow us on Blue Sky, and if you'd like to make your own OC a part of this Sonic Sentai project, use the hashtag #TheHeadingMakers to do so on Blue Sky. Also, obviously follow the Blue Sky for updates on videos for both of our sides if you'd like to see that.
Of course. This project was really fun to work on. A bit tiring, but nonetheless fun. We hope to get more parts out with more characters, so stay tuned. You'll never know when it happens. You'll never see it coming. Alright, bye-bye. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Thank you. I didn't say anything.
Thank you. Huh? What'd you say?
Huh?
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 Huh? Video ends here.
There's his hat.
When designing a fusion of characters, it's always good. Ah, fuck. Alright, leave that in. Rougher than the rest of them. The rest of them. Alright, start recording again.
That's funny because
3,
I didn't
2,
pause at all.
1. Okay. Well, I guess we're leaving this in as bloopers. Alright, fucking them shoes. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Inky, do you think he would grapple someone?
Yeah, probably.
Damn. He do be mad disrespectful sometimes.
Hit him with the
Kind
Zen
of base
pose
for it.
special.
The back break.
The backbreaker on Sonic. Sonic backshots? I'm so sorry.
Way past Coom!
Whoa! Come on, step it up.
Step it up. I don't know. I don't know.
You
But
don't
in the
know.
end, I decided to go with that. Huh?
Sorry, you just said you don't know, and I was just commenting on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything. I've never known anything in my life.
Oh,
I'm actually quite stupid. Are we still recording?
yeah.
Okay, good, because I was gonna get back to it. The 1-2 fuck you punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. One in the pink, two in the stink. That's the Knuckles way. Awesome.